My name is Paul, and today I'm in the classroom right now. I wanted to make this video because I really want to help you out in terms of your education. And in education, what is being done is if you are learning some concept, writing the exam, and you're getting some marks, and then applying for a job, and then you're getting a job. But it's important to slow down, break down each step, and understand what exactly you're doing when it comes to actual learning. You're storing the information which is created by someone into your brain, and you're taught that information, and somebody would have introduced that information, right? In this world, people have introduced the knowledge, and that's the reason why this knowledge is taught to you in different subjects. And you are learning these different subjects for a reason, because you're going to use the knowledge which has been created by other people to actually do something valuable and useful and ultimately earn money. So it's important to understand how to actually learn the concept, because it's not like in school you are given a list of subjects, you have to learn those subjects, you have to learn the syllabus, and then write the exam, pass the exam. This will help you in terms of ensuring that you're consistent, you're disciplined, and you are following the structure of how to learn. But this is not the right way to learn, because you're not actually applying. If you think about it, you're not applying whatever you're learning in real life. What's important is you have to apply it practically so that it is going to be useful for somebody. And if it's useful, still, it doesn't mean that you know the concepts, but you still have to make sure that you can make money out of it. That's the stage where you have complete mastery over the topic. Professors are paid. Why? Because they teach these concepts, and they're paid, and they have the knowledge to teach it. Now, you need to reach a level where you are able to get that knowledge and understanding of the subject so that you will be also able to earn money out of it. If you reach a level where you can explain a concept and people are willing to pay money for it, that's when you have reached mastery. But it's not complete mastery, but still you are able to earn money from it. Because you can do something, but still you will be mediocre or average at it, and people will not pay anything for it. But if you are doing something where people are paying you, then you have reached some level of expertise in that particular subject. Now, here I'll be discussing about some of the methods which you can learn, right? Learning has to be automated. You must understand that natural human tendency is not to learn, because we are human beings, and human beings are not trained to learn something or study. We are not trained to study from our childhood. We are actually forced to do this, okay? We are not trained, or we are not practiced this habit of sitting in one place, writing exams, studying a concept. We're not doing that. So it's important to realize the fact that we are not first and foremost trained as human beings to follow the structure. And as a result, it's important to understand that we have to know how to learn something, and this is what schools will not teach you. What are the different methods or modes by which you can learn, because they focus more on the textbook, right? That's the only thing that teachers or professors recommend in schools and universities. Read the textbook, learn the concept. But here, the disadvantage is that you don't have time to read the textbook, right? You have 5 subjects or 7 subjects. How do you cover all of these subjects in a limited span of time? It's not possible. So, what's important to understand is that now the learning doesn't have to be difficult. It can be simple. You just have to realize that as a human being, we can learn through different forms. Okay, with our sense organs, some people are very good in learning through sight or with their eyes. Some people are very good at learning through ears or auditory sense organ. and some people are really good at learning through other sense organs, okay, like touch, smell, and also some people are very good at learning through um, writing, okay, so by doing. So it's important to understand your own method and to follow it. There's no generalized method which is applicable for every student, but what I do say is that first and foremost you must understand what type of brain do you have. So brain is the organ which actually stores information. A human being actually is a brain. So if you talk about the brain, you have different parts which actually does different processes, but it's actually a collection of different neurons, and these neurons will fire based on different situations. But if you understand the concept of neuroplasticity, you know that neuroplasticity basically means that your brain can be modified and it can be trained based on what you do things repeatedly. So if you do a certain task repeatedly, then this pathway gets stronger and the neurons will start firing quickly in your brain. As a result, you will be able to do that thing very quickly, and in one case you will automate it and it will become a second nature. You will do it automatically. You will reach that point. But you must know what exactly is that task. If studying is a task which you need to automate, you need to have systems in place that would ensure that you are able to automate what you're learning. And this automation is only possible if you're really interested and you're consistent and disciplined. At the same time, you also are doing it in a sustainable way without getting burned out. And so let me talk about the different ways by which you can learn something so that it will be useful. Okay, first and foremost, as I said before, everything is in your brain, and you are basically applying the information that's in your brain. Now you need to store that information in your brain. Now it's not possible to store information in our brain by simply eating the knowledge, right? We can't eat knowledge because it's not something that we can touch or feel. So it's not a food item that we can eat. But what we can do, however, is we can learn the concept and store it in our brain. So that's the first step, storing the information in our brain so that we will be able to apply that information and do some projects and make some products. Okay, so how do we store that information? Well, we have different methods, and essentially the most effective out of all these methods would be to teach yourself immediately after you learn something. Okay, that's sometimes known as self-teaching or retrieval practice, where you're basically, when you talk about any topic which you're trying to learn, try to learn that concept in the beginning, okay, and then after learning it, immediately teach it to someone else. It can be a friend, it can be a family member, anybody, but just teach the concept after learning. So that would be a classification of, a Feynman's learning technique. There's a technique called Feynman's learning technique in which you are basically explaining the concept to a child. You're simplifying it, and if you're not able to explain it, you have to find out gaps in your knowledge, learn the concept, and again try to explain it to someone in a simple way, especially a 5-year-old or a 12-year-old. If you can simplify huge, complex topics in simple terms to someone who's 5-year-old or a 12-year-old, then you have mastered the art of simplifying the concept, and you're able to explain it. So try to do that. Try to teach the concept and apply this Feynman's learning technique, where you learn a topic, close the book, try to explain the topic as though you're explaining it to a child. If you're able to explain all the concepts properly, then you have mastered the topic. Do it repeatedly until you are completely confident about the topic. The second way by which you can store information in your brain, as I said before, the first method is self-teaching. You have to teach the concept. The second method is self-testing, because ultimately your marks are more important, right? Even if you say that I know everything, it doesn't matter, because people won't listen unless you score good marks. And it's important to get good marks by testing yourself, and you need to test whether your brain knows the concept properly or not. So how do we test it? Well, we have, practice questions. We have to solve sample questions, previous year questions. So try to frame your own questions, solve them, and if you're able to solve all the questions by yourself without, referring any material, you're able to answer all the questions related to that topic, then it's good enough. But try to test yourself in different ways, okay? Try to test yourself by asking why questions, try to formulate some questions, and test yourself by writing it down. Through flashcards you can test yourself, and through different methods you can test yourself, okay? Try to test yourself by solving questions which are given in the textbook, given in the presentation slides, or given in your notebook, or given in the class. Try to solve as much questions as possible of different types. So self-testing is super important. And the next method would be most effective, because when it comes to information, you need to check whether you know the information or not. How do we do that? By asking yourself the question, and if you're able to write down the answer to that question in a piece of paper and explain it, then you have understood the topic. So that's when retrieval practice or active recall comes in, where you're recalling the information which you already learned. And so it's important to figure out what are the concepts you have learned, and then try to learn the concepts first, and then try to recall it later by testing yourself, and then explaining it, or doing something that would help you to think and put stress in your brain, and remember and recover and retain that information that you have already learned. Okay, so active recall is the best way to do. So you read a textbook, close it, and recall all the information that you read. Ask yourself, what did I read? And try to write it down in a piece of paper. And that would help you to reinforce this learning and help you to retain the information for your exam. And so that's important. The fourth method I would suggest you to do would be spaced repetition, which basically means that you have to repeat the information over and over again in your brain in the spaced interval of time. So let's say you're learning a concept right now, you have to repeat this learning after 1 week. Okay, after 1 week, use active recall and try to recall the information which you have learned the previous week. And if you're not able to recall it, try to learn it again, and this way try to learn the concept in a spaced interval of time. Okay, so after 1 day, test yourself after learning the concept after 7 days, after 10 days, and after 15 days, after 1 month. Try to test yourself whether what you have learned right now are able to remember that information or not. If you're not able to remember that information, that means it's the same as not even learning the concept. So first and foremost, it's important, vital, to note that you need to retain that information in your brain until and unless you have not completed the exam. So for the exam, it's important. So spaced repetition helps you to repeat that information over and over again. That topic which you learned 7 days ago, okay, you have to ask yourself the question, do I remember that topic right now? What is that topic? And if I'm able to remember it, can I explain it? And you have to explain that concept in detail. So this process or technique is known as spaced repetition. Okay, and after that, you also need to understand that not only retaining the information is important, you also need to know how to study. And so the fifth technique is related to how much you should study. So let's say don't study for long hours of time, because the problem is if you are learning something for a long period of time, for long hours, the efficiency or productivity will go down. So you have to take breaks, and that's when Pomodoro technique comes in. So Pomodoro technique states that you have to study for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break, study for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break, and repeat this process until you stop studying. So this way, you will not only study in a consistent format, but also you will be sustaining your momentum of your learning. So do not try to learn something all at once, like 6 hours straight. you should take breaks essentially, but sometimes you're forced to take break, right, for eating food or going to the restroom. These are breaks you have to take. But other than that, you also need to take a break after 25 minutes because human concentration levels and attention span is very less, and hence whatever you're learning has to go into your brain. And if it's not going into your brain, you will not be able to retain the information. And so it's important to understand how to go about doing this. And I've also talked about the different methods by which you can retain the information. So try to think about it, visualize it, repeat it. Thinking, visualization, and repetition is super important when it comes to making sure that concepts are in your brain. So the essential tool that is required for you to be able to really go ahead and learn the concepts and apply it is to practice all of these techniques which I talked about. Alright, this method is super important, but you have to figure out the method which is suitable for you. Okay, there are different methods I've discussed here. Choose the method which is suitable for you and try to implement it. And one more important technique which I would suggest you to follow is that if you're not feeling serious about what you're doing right now, or if you feel like when you're learning something you're not that much focused, your concentration is not good, then what you can do would be go live on social media and record yourself studying. Okay, so try to go live on Instagram, Facebook, or any other platform, YouTube, and do a live stream of your studying. Okay, this way you'll be more focused towards your study because other people who are in the live stream will be watching, and you will be much more accountable. Okay, if you have an accountability partner, because natural human tendency is not to study, and it's important to understand we are not trained to do this from our beginning of our childhood. So we are forced to do this, and so somebody is asking us to study, then only you'll be able to study. But if you're self-motivated and if you're disciplined enough, you'll be able to implement these concepts and tactics which I'll discuss here, and you'll be able to get good marks. And so it's important to score good marks so that it will act as a proof that you know something about the concept. Not that you are an expert, but you'll be able to at least achieve a level of expertise in the topic or the concept. And so important topic and concept have to be practiced over and over again by repetition. And you have to think about it, you have to visualize it, you have to teach yourself the concept. So self-teaching, self-testing, test yourself by solving questions. So these methods will be super important. And at the same time, you have to implement this technique, which is priming. What does priming mean? Priming basically means that before even learning a topic or concept, you have to ask yourself, what I'm going to do with this topic? How is it useful for me? And what are the applications? And how does this help me in some way, right? So in terms of earning money or in terms of a job, how does this topic help me or subject help me? Okay, so try to answer these preliminary questions in the form of priming. So this method is known as priming, where you're asking questions about why, what, when, how, what I'm going to do with this concept, right? So all of these questions have to be answered. If you're able to answer all of those questions, then it becomes quite simple. You'll be able to master the topic. So try to go ahead and learn these concepts and try to apply this. If you feel like taking notes or reading the textbook, reading the textbook over and over again is going to help. No, it's not going to help because you're just reading the topic. It doesn't mean that you have information in your brain. Okay, if you want to store that information which you're reading in your brain, you need to test yourself. And if you're testing yourself, you will be able to store it. If you're not testing yourself, this is a passive learning. You have to learn actively. And if you are talking about passive learning, highlighting or note-taking or rereading, these are passive modes of learning. And listening to lecture, you will not remember much of the information. Only 5% you will remember information. But if you teach other people, you will remember 90% of information. So I want you to learn the concept and teach it immediately. That's much more effective. Feynman's learning technique, active recall, retrieval practice, self-testing. So these are the most effective methods. Instead of highlighting, note-taking, rereading, this will not help. Okay, so try to implement whatever I've talked about in this video, and you will find that you will get good marks in the exam if you follow these study techniques. Okay, thank you so much for listening. If you have any doubts or questions, leave it down in the comment section. I'll be able to answer it. Thank you so much for watching this video.